The worst part about jiu-jitsu or combat sports in general, for that matter, is weight cutting, and we saw that play out today on UFC BJJ Road to the Title episode 5 when there were scheduled 2 matches, but then there was of course some drama around a weight cut gone bad, and let's talk about it. For those unfamiliar, weight cutting is exactly what it sounds like. The goal is to lose as much weight as quickly as possible, and the quickest way to lose weight is to sweat out every drop of water within your body and then rehydrate after you make weight and then compete shortly thereafter. The problem with weight cutting on a show like UFC BJJ or on The Ultimate Fighter, which coincidentally we saw this week on the episode of The Ultimate Fighter, there was another issue with cutting weight. The problem with a show like this is that you have to compete 2 or 3 times in maybe a couple weeks. So you're repeatedly cutting weight, which is terrible for your body. It is a terrible, terrible thing to do to your body. And it's done regularly, and like I said on shows like this, multiple times in a very short stretch. So why do we do this? Why do we put ourselves through this and cut weight in this way? Why don't we just compete at the weight we normally are? And anytime someone asks me that question, I give them the same answer. Because one person can cut weight, now we all have to. See, people think that you're cutting weight to gain an advantage, but what's really happening is you're trying to mitigate a disadvantage. So let's say hypothetically, like right now I weigh 175 pounds and I have a hypothetical match coming up, and the organizer comes to me and they say, hey, you weigh 175 pounds, this guy weighs 175 pounds, you guys will compete against each other. And we say, great, perfect, we'll both compete at the weight we normally are. The problem is maybe that person I'm going to compete against doesn't weigh 175 right now. Maybe they weigh 195 and they're willing to sweat off 20 pounds in a very short period of time. And now I'm coming into that match 20 pounds lighter than my opponent. That's a big, big, big disadvantage for me. So instead what will happen is I weigh 175, this guy weighs 175, we'll compete at 160. That way we will both diet our way down, sweat our way down, be miserable, get to 160, weigh in, rehydrate, and then when we step on the mat, we both weigh 175. It's the only way that we both know the person we're competing against isn't going to be 20 pounds heavier than us. It's not an advantage to cut weight, it's only preventing your opponent from gaining an advantage. Because one person can, we all have to. Now, personally for me, I don't cut any weight for jiu-jitsu matches. I had enough terrible weight cuts in MMA. I've been through enough. I don't need to put my body through that anymore. And I'm not competing at UFC BJJ. I'm not competing at Who's Number One. I'm not competing at ADCC or CJI. It's just not that important to me to cut weight. I'll go in knowing that I'm giving up a couple extra pounds, and because I compete in Masters, the guy's probably on steroids or TRT because that's just what the world is right now, but it's not worth it for me. But when you're competing in MMA and you're trying to make a living out of jiu-jitsu, I get it. I get why guys do it. I get why they cut weight, but you shouldn't. It's terrible for you. First up this episode was Nolf versus Elijah Carlton, and no weight cut drama here. Nolf coming in as a hugely successful collegiate wrestler, 3-time national champ at Penn State, and he was a big question mark for me coming into this because he's a pure wrestler. He's an amazing wrestler. He competed at CGI last year and he held his own and did really well. But coming in, I wasn't sure how he would compete against, pure jiu-jitsu guys. So the match started and Elijah pulled and Jason was staying outside. He was obviously trying to avoid the leg locks. Earlier in the episode, they showed Jason and Mikey talking about trying to avoid the leg locks, and they thought that avoiding the leg locks was going to be key for him trying to win the match, and that's how it played out. Jason looked reluctant to commit to a pass, and each time he did come in, Elijah was catching his arm. You'd have to score the first round for Elijah just because he was attacking more. When the second round starts, it looked like Elijah did want to wrestle a little bit, but then he quickly sat back down, and it was more of Jason coming in to pass and Elijah immediately attacking, and we eventually settled into Elijah's close guard, but as soon as Elijah opened up, Jason bailed. I was not enjoying this match. It was just too passive. Jason was just too worried about getting submitted and staying so far on the outside. He wasn't fully committing to engaging. It wasn't a lot of fun to watch. Round 3 starts and Jason looks more committed to passing in this round, but Elijah was doing a good job attacking as soon as Jason came inside. In the last 10 seconds, Elijah was deep on an armbar and Jason slammed him to defend it, and the round ended and the match ended, and it was not a great match. Elijah ended up winning by split decision. I scored it that way. I thought that was the correct decision. Mikey disagreed, but of course he did because his guy lost. You'd expect him to disagree. The next match scheduled was Kevon Gonzalez versus Josh Cisneros, and this is where the weight cut problems come in. Josh was a little too heavy. His body started to shut down. He couldn't cut the weight anymore. They brought in some medical attention. The UFC doctor said, you can't keep cutting, you're out. That was it. He was out. He was out of the competition because he couldn't make weight. However, Claudio Gadelha, and the UFC were able to bring in Kobe Fair to be a late replacement. He made weight the same day, and the match with Kevon was on. The match starts with Kobe trying to pass, and Kevon was working to get underneath and attack, and he got a good bite on Kobe's leg. He set up the attack, and he got the sub in first round. I have a lot of respect for Kobe coming in on such short notice. It's not easy to get thrown into this huge thing that's happening on one day's notice, make weight on the same day, and compete against a guy who's been there and comfortable in that environment and training for a long time there. Not easy to do. I know that he's upset that he lost, but I mean, awesome to see someone step up like that, and I'm sure he's proud of himself for that. So that was it. Episode 5 is done. We had weight cut drama. We had a very quick submission. We had a not so great match, but all in all, I think it was a good episode, and I'm glad they did 2 matches in 1 episode, which they are going to do next time as well. So that's exciting. I hope you're enjoying the show and enjoying these videos, and subscribe to the channel if you are. That would be cool. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you check back in after next episode for the next video, and I will see you there.